Good day, everyone. We are the group 4, the third presenter for our biomes. This discussion must be able to help us understand their types and characteristics, including the impact, threats, challenges, and their adaptations. To start off, let's first define what biomes are. So basically, biomes are the large areas of our planet that consist of both biotic and abiotic factors. They are shaped mainly by temperature, rainfall, and geography. Each biome has its own unique ecosystem where living organisms adapt to survive in their environment. Let's watch this video to understand more what biomes are.
Where do you call home? We're not talking about your street address. We don't even mean your country. Mother Nature has a different kind of home address for you. It rhymes with home. Biome. Your biome isn't associated with a specific country or even just one place on the globe. It's more like if you add up all the natural characteristics of where you live and give that a name. Think of the Earth as a place where every corner of the planet has its own unique personality and inhabitants. These diverse landscapes, called biomes, are like nature's neighborhoods. From icy tundras where polar bears roam to steamy rainforests buzzing with colorful birds and insects, each biome supports a different community of plants and animals. Exploring biomes helps us understand how living things survive in their environments and thrive in places as different as deserts, grasslands, and even the depths of the ocean. Today, we'll learn about some of the different biomes and how diversity makes our planet so special. We've gathered some naturally wonderful things for you to explore on the Socratica Foundation website. Find more smart fun videos and downloads, fact-filled games and activities that help you learn and remember. Find the link below. Where do we get this word? Biome. Does it mean two of something? Like how a bicycle has two wheels? No. Let's split it up like this instead. Bio plus ome. The word biome comes from two Greek words, bios, which means life, and ome, which means group. When you put these roots together, biome refers to a group of similar living things. So, a biome is a place on Earth where the plants and animals all have a lot in common. What's more, biomes also have the same sorts of weather conditions. For instance, a desert biome typically has hot temperatures and very little rain. So it makes sense that deserts have plants and animals that can survive in the heat with very little water. This helps us understand that a biome is not just about one thing, like temperature, but a combination of living and non-living things that create a unique environment. Also, there isn't just one desert in the world, right? When we say desert, it means anywhere on Earth that has the same sort of dry conditions and similar sorts of plants and animals that can survive there. Each biome has unique weather patterns, like how much rain or snow it gets, and unique temperature ranges. The weather influences the types of plants that can grow there, which then impacts the animals that can live there. Deserts are dry and hot, so they have cacti and animals like lizards and snakes that can survive without a lot of water. On the other hand, rainforests are warm and wet. This means living things like tall trees, monkeys, and parrots can thrive here. Other biomes include grasslands, tundras, and oceans. Understanding biomes helps scientists learn how different parts of our planet function and how living things interact with their environments. Since we're going to use a serious scientific term like biome, let's add in the words that scientists use to describe them. By the way, the scientists using these terms, studying biomes, they're called ecologists. We mentioned certain plants and animals that live in biomes. Ecologists call the plant life of a biome flora. That might remind you of a flower, which is good because flowers are an example of flora, the plant life found in a certain region. There's a word that goes along with flora, but it's for the animals. Fauna. Fauna makes us think of fawns, which is the name for a baby deer, and little baby deer are an example of fauna, the animals that live in a certain place. One more word we should know. Climate. You'll hear people using the words weather and climate interchangeably, but there is a difference. Climate is the word we use when we want to talk about the average weather of a place over a long period of time. And that makes sense that a desert might occasionally get a rainstorm. There's no law against it, and that's weather. But on average, over a long period of time, it barely rains at all. And that's climate. Ecologists are known for studying ecosystems, but they also study biomes. What gives? You might be thinking that a biome sounds a whole lot like an ecosystem. You're on the right track. They are similar, but they have some differences too. A biome is a large area of the earth with similar climate, flora, and fauna like a desert, forest, or ocean. It covers a wide region and includes many different ecosystems within it. An ecosystem, on the other hand, is a smaller, specific community of living things interacting with each other and their environment in a specific place. For example, a forest biome includes many ecosystems, such as a pond, a meadow, or a grove of trees. Long story short, a biome gives us a big picture of similar environments across the world, while an ecosystem focuses on the details within a smaller area. Socratica Kids is an educational nonprofit, and our videos are possible because of people like you. Donate today and help us get started on our next video series all about the animals who live in these special biomes. Now that we know what a biome is, we can get into the nitty-gritty and jump right into a controversy. How many biomes are there? Scientists group biomes in different ways. Some scientists say there are 5 main biomes: aquatic, desert, forest, grassland, and tundra. Others say there are 11 biomes, which include Arctic tundra, alpine tundra, Antarctic tundra, boreal forest, temperate forest, tropical grassland, temperate grassland, desert, marine, and fresh water. Phew, that was a long list. Here at Socratica Kids, we'll be exploring each of these 11 biomes in more depth with one video for each biome. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a video. For simplicity's sake, today let's take a quick look at the 5 major biomes as an introduction. But don't forget, lots of upcoming videos. Please subscribe. Okay, here we go. First up, aquatic biomes. Aqua means water, like aquarium. So you know aquatic biomes are all about water and include oceans, lakes, rivers, and ponds. These watery worlds are home to a variety of creatures like fish, whales, frogs, and turtles. Plants like algae and seaweed thrive here too. Aquatic biomes can be freshwater, like lakes and rivers, or saltwater, like oceans and seas. The animals and plants in these biomes are well suited for living in the water, some in the deep ocean trenches and others in shallow riverbeds. Animals living in aquatic biomes can only survive here and would not do well in the rest of the biomes, which we call terrestrial biomes. Terra means earth, and that might make you think first about a place where it's mostly dirt. That's right, we're talking about the desert. Dirt, sand, rocks. But don't be fooled. Deserts aren't completely empty, just mostly empty when you compare them with other places on Earth. Desert biomes are dry areas with very little rain. They can be hot, like the Sahara, or cold, like the Gobi. So what sorts of flora and fauna call deserts home? Plants like cacti and shrubs are tough and can store water for a long time. Animals such as camels, lizards, and scorpions are perfectly suited to survive in these harsh places, often being active at night to avoid the heat. Deserts might look desolate at first glance, but they're full of life that has learned to make the most of the scarce water and food available. You know which biome does not look empty? Forest biomes. Forest biomes are full of trees and all kinds of critters that live in and around them. These biomes come in 3 main types: tropical, temperate, and boreal. Tropical forests are warm and rainy with tall trees and a huge variety of plants and animals like delicious tropical fruits and animals that like to eat fruit, including monkeys, parrots, and butterflies. Temperate forests have 4 seasons, with trees that change color in the fall and lose their leaves in the winter. Animals like deer, bears, and owls live here. Boreal forests, also known as taiga, are found in cold regions and have evergreen trees like pine and spruce. Animals such as moose and wolves roam these forests. As you can see, forests are teeming with life. Remember, we'll learn more about each one of these forest biomes in their own video. What about the places where there are fewer trees, more open and grassy? We call those grassland biomes. These biomes are wide open spaces dominated by grasses and very few trees. They can be temperate, like the prairies in North America, or tropical, like the savannas in Africa. Grasslands are home to large herbivores like bison, zebras, and elephants, as well as predators like lions and wolves. These biomes have rich soil that is great for growing crops, making them important for farming. Another vast and open biome is the tundra. But don't expect to see big trees or tall grasses in these places. Tundra biomes are very cold and have little plant life. They can be found in the Arctic, near the North Pole, and high on the mountains. The ground is often frozen, so only very small, hardy plants like mosses and lichens can grow. Animals like reindeer, Arctic foxes, and polar bears live in the tundra. These animals have special adaptations to survive in the extreme cold, like thick fur and protective fat layers. The tundra is a tough place to live, but it has its own unique beauty and important role supporting life on Earth. We just finished a whirlwind tour through the Earth's unique neighborhoods, biomes, each with its own climate, plants, and animals. And you're back home in your own biome. From the deep blue oceans to the dry deserts, the lush forests to the wide grasslands, and even the icy tundras, each biome is a vital part of our planet's rich diversity. This knowledge helps us appreciate the incredible variety of life on Earth and the importance of protecting these natural habitats. Don't forget to watch the rest of our biome series where we take a deep dive into each biome and the diversity within them. Now it's time to watch another great video from Socratica Kids. You get to pick. And don't forget to check out our website with smart fun extras we made just for you. Linked below. Did you know that these videos are made possible by our donors? The Socratica Foundation.
Alright, now that we understand what biomes are, let's proceed to the 5 major types of biomes. We have aquatic. Okay. Hmm. So aquatic biomes includes both freshwater and marine, such as oceans, rivers, and lakes. Since water covers since water covers most of our planet, aquatic biomes are the largest. Aquatic biomes are critical for global biodiversity, primary productivity, and climate regulation like carbon cycling, and it provides many ecosystem services including water purification and food sources. Next, we have grassland. These are the open areas dominated by grasses rather than trees. They typically form in areas with a warm to dry climate that receives moderate rainfall enough to support grasses but not forests. They are home to grazing animals like zebra, as well as to predators like lions. Grasslands are vast and they are open fields that support both grazers and hunters. So we have here the two types of grasslands. First is the tropical grasslands, which is called savannas, which found near the equator. It has warm temperatures year-round and seasonal rainfalls. Next type is the temperate grasslands, which found in mid-latitude regions. It brings hot summers, cold winters, and moderate precipitation. Next one, we have forests. These areas are rich in trees, plants, and wildlife. They play a vital role in producing oxygen and absorbing carbon dioxide. Forests are divided into 3 major types. First is we have the what we call tropical forest. It is warm, humid, and rich in biodiversity and found near the equator. Next is the temperate forest. It gives the four distinct seasons with moderate rainfall, while the boreal forests are found in colder regions dominated by coniferous trees. So the boreal forests are called taiga. So forests are known as the lungs of the earth as it supports countless species. Next one is the desert. So desert biomes, they are usually found in desert biomes are known for being dry with very little rainfall. They cover about 20% of the planet's surface and are characterized by extreme temperature, scarce vegetation, and limited water availability. Plants like cacti or cactus and animals like camels are well adapted in this area. For the last one, we have tundra. So tundra biomes, they are usually found in extremely cold regions near poles. Tundras have frozen soil called permafrost, and only hard plants like mosses and lichens grow there. On the other hand, animals such as polar bears and reindeer are adapted to survive its freezing temperatures. There are two main types of tundra. We have the Arctic tundra and alpine tundra. The Arctic tundra, it is found in polar regions with long harsh winters and short summers, while the alpine tundra are found at high mountain elevations above the tree line. We also have what we call the tundra food chain. So it includes the producers, herbivores, carnivores, and omnivores. Here we can see the example of biomes on each category. Okay. So here we have the fresh water, including the Laguna de Bay, Lake Lanao, and Agusan Marsh. Hold on for a second. We also have the marine, which include the Tubataha Reef Natural Park, or also known as the Sulu Sea, the Verde Island Passage, and the Philippine Sea. While for the savanna, I'm sorry, while for the savanna, we have the Batanes grasslands, northern Mindoro upland savannas, and Palawan dry savanna patches. While for the tropical rainforest, we have the Sierra Madre rainforest, which is located in Luzon, and we also have the Mindanao montane rainforest as well as the Palawan rainforest. And we also have the temperate rainforest, which is the highland cloud forest. These are the Mount Apo, Mount Pulag, and Mount Kitanglad. Last but not the least, we have here the taiga. So we have the example here is the Siberian taiga, which is located in Russia. We also have the Canadian boreal forest and the Scandinavian taiga, as well as Alaskan taiga, which is located in USA, while the Scandinavian taiga is located in Finland. That's all for the characteristics and types of biomes. Now let's go to the threats protection and conservation of biomes.
Now that we have a brief overview of the biomes, let us now discuss what are the threats, the protection, and the conservation that we use in order to protect these biomes. So first, let us start with the threats or the major threats to biomes. First one is the habitat loss and fragmentation. So this is one of the biggest threats in the habitat loss is in one of the biggest threats is habitat loss, wherein humans clear land for farming purposes, logging, and as well as building cities. So because of this, entire ecosystems disappear. So what's left in the broken parts is often called the fragmentation. So this is dangerous because animals need space to migrate and reproduce. For example, elephants in Africa struggle when farms and fences block their migration paths. In the Amazon rainforests, Deforestation for cattle ranching and palm oil plantations destroy the homes of jaguars, monkeys, and countless bird species. Once habitat shrinks or breaks apart, these species become isolated and the resources run out, and in turn, biodiversity declines. So the second major threat is pollution. So we have three main pollution that affects the biomes itself. First is the air pollution, wherein gases from cars and factories mix with waters in the atmosphere, which in turn creates acid rain. This damages forests and soils. And for instance, in parts of Europe, acid rain has weakened large areas of pine forests. Another form of pollution is water pollution, wherein chemicals from farms, plastics, and oil spills often contaminate rivers, lakes, and oceans. A clear example of this is the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, wherein the plastics float in the ocean and harm the turtles, the fish, and seabirds. So another one is the fertilizer runoff, which created dead zones in places like the Gulf of Mexico, wherein fishes cannot survive anymore due to the low oxygen. Another form of pollution is the soil pollution. So the overuse of pesticides and chemical fertilizers reduces the soil fertility and in turn kills the useful microbes. This is especially harmful in farmlands and grasslands that depend on healthy soil for plant growth. So another one is the climate change, wherein climate change is reshaping almost every biome. Rising global temperature causes the glaciers to melt, and this in turn creates a significant effect on the sea levels, as well as on the rainfall patterns, shifting into unpredictable patterns. So in the Arctic, ice is melting twice as fast as the rest of the planet, threatening polar bears, seals, and walruses. In coral reef ecosystems, warmer ocean temperatures cause corals to bleach and die, wiping out the habitats for thousands of marine species. In grasslands and savannas, they are no longer they are experiencing rather longer droughts, which in turn leads to desertification. Extreme events like hurricanes, wildfires rather, and floods are also becoming more frequent, which damages the habitats and makes it hard for species to adapt. So another major threat is the invasive species. Invasive species are plants or animals introduced to new places or biomes, either accidentally or intentionally. So in turn, because of this introduction, they outcompete the native species relevant to that biome. Because they have no natural predators in the new environment, they often spread rapidly. For example, zebras in North America have clogged water pipes and pushed out local mussels species. So in Australia, cane toads were brought into Australia to control pests, but instead they spread uncontrollably and poisoned the native predators. So because of these invasions, they disrupt the food chain, they spread diseases, and they create long-term changes in the ecosystem. Another major threat is the overexploitation of resources. This is simply referring to as overusing the natural resources. Humans depend on nature for food, wood, and water, but taking too much harms the ecosystems. Overfishing has caused tuna, cod, and many other fish populations to collapse. Another example is illegal logging in tropical rainforests destroys the trees faster than they can grow back. So in some regions, animals like rhinos and elephants are hunted to near extinction for their horns and their tusks. So because of this, this overuse not only threatens the species, but also reduces the resilience of ecosystems, meaning they can't recover quickly from the damages. Another one is or the last one rather, is the anthropogenic pressures. When we say anthropogenic, this pertains to the problems that humans create. So because of this, an example of this is mining operations, wherein these operations strip land of vegetation and pollute nearby rivers. Another example is building large dams to change the flows of rivers, flooding the forests upstream but drying out wetland downstreams. Another example is large-scale monocultural farming, like the endless fields of soy or corn. This in turn removes biodiversity and depletes the soil. So, for example, in mountain biomes, mining for metals like gold and copper destroys slopes and contaminates the streams. For for deserts, excessive groundwater extraction lowers the water tables and threatens rare plants and animals adapted to dry conditions. So to summarize, the biggest threat to biomes include habitat loss, pollution, climate change, invasive species, overexploitation, and other human pressures like mining and dams. So these threats are all connected and often make each other worse. If we do not act, many ecosystems could collapse, taking away the biodiversity and the resources that humans also depend on. Understanding these threats is the first step to finding solution. So let us watch this video to further explain the major threats to the biomes.
While we're already feeling the devastating effects of human caused climate change, governments continue to fall short on making and executing emissions pledges that would help thwart further warming. So, what will our world look like in the next 30 to 80 years if we continue on the current path? While it's impossible to know exactly how the next decade will unfold, scientists and climate experts have made projections, factoring in the current state of affairs. This future we're about to describe is bleak, but remember, there's still time to ensure it doesn't become our reality. It's 2050. We've blown past the 1.5-degree target that world leaders promised to stick to. The Earth has warmed 2 degrees since the 1800s, when the world first started burning fossil fuels in mass scale. Reports on heat waves and wildfires regularly fill the evening news. Summer days exceed 40 degrees in London and 45 degrees in Delhi, as extreme heat waves are now 8 to 9 times more common. These high temperatures prompt widespread blackouts as power grids struggle to keep up with the energy demands needed to properly cool homes. Ambulance sirens blare through the night, carrying patients suffering from heat stroke, dehydration, and exhaustion. The southwestern United States, southern Africa, and eastern Australia experience longer, more frequent, and more severe droughts. Meanwhile, the Philippines, Indonesia, and Japan face more frequent heavy rainfall as rising temperatures cause water to evaporate faster and trap more water in the atmosphere. As the weather becomes more erratic, some communities are unable to keep pace with rebuilding what's constantly destroyed. Many move to cities where they face housing shortages and a lack of jobs. A resource squeeze is felt in newborn intensive care wards as the rising temperature and air pollution cause higher rates of premature and underweight births. More children develop asthma and respiratory disease, and rates balloon in communities regularly exposed to forest fire smoke. The global emissions added to the atmosphere each year finally start to level off thanks to government action, but it's decades too late. We failed to reach net zero in time. As a result, by 2100, the Earth has warmed another zero point 0.5 to 1.5 degrees. Over half of our remaining glaciers have melted. As the sea heats up, its volume increases due to thermal expansion. Together, this elevates sea level by well over a meter. Entire nations, like the Marshall Islands and Tuvalu, are uninhabitable, as large swaths of their islands are submerged. Some islands, like the Maldives, spend billions building interconnected rafts that house apartments, schools, and restaurants that float above its drowned cities. Resettled climate migrants in Jakarta, Mumbai, and Lagos are forced to abandon their homes once again as rising tides and extreme storms flood buildings and crumble infrastructure. Overall, 250 million people are displaced. Some affluent cities like New York and Shanghai attempt to adapt, elevating buildings and roadways. 10-meter tall seawalls line the city's coasts. Children learn about extinct sea life which once inhabited the ocean's reefs, all of which have vanished thanks to rising surface water temperatures. Grocery prices skyrocket as food and water scarcity touch all communities. Fruits and products long grown in the tropics and subtropics rarely show up on shelves, as intense heat waves paired with increasing humidity make it deadly for farmers to work outdoors. Unpredictable heat waves, droughts, and floods cripple small scale farmers in Africa, Asia, and South America, who previously produced one-third of the world's food. Hundreds of millions of people are pushed into hunger and famine. Climate predictions can feel overwhelming and terrifying, yet many of the experts responsible for these assessments remain optimistic. Since countries have first begun taking steps to lower their emissions, warming projections have shifted downwards. In less than a decade, we've reduced our projected emission rates so that we're no longer on track to hit nearly 4 degrees of warming. Policies that invest in renewable energy sources, cut fossil fuel production, support electric transportation, protect our forests, and regulate industry can help mitigate the worst effects of climate change. But climate experts have also stressed that current policies and pledges don't go far enough in speed or scale. Enacting real change will require bold solutions, innovations, and collective action. There's still time to rewrite our future, and every tenth of a degree counts. For a look at a
Okay, now that we've seen the major threats to our biomes, let's move on to something more hopeful, the strategies that we can use to protect and conserve them. Conservation is about finding ways to balance human needs with the health of ecosystems so that both can thrive together. First is establishing protected areas. So one of the most effective strategies is creating protected areas like national parks, wildlife sanctuaries, and biosphere reserves. These areas give species safe habitats and limit destructive human activities. For example, Yellow National Park in the US has helped protect bison and wolves, while the Great Barrier Reef Marine Park in Australia helps conserve these the coral reefs and the marine species. Second one is the habitat restoration. When habitats are damaged, we can help them recover. This includes planting trees in deforested areas, restoring wetlands that filter water, and rehabilitating grasslands that have been overgrazed. A good example is the mangrove reforestation in the Philippines, which not only restores coastal ecosystems but also protects communities from strong waves and storms. The third one is the sustainable resource management. Another key strategy is using resources wisely so they last for future generations. This means practicing eco-friendly methods in farming, fishing, and forestry. Agroforestry is an example wherein it combines crops and trees to prevent soil erosion and provide shade. Rotational grazing prevents overgrazing in grasslands, and in forestry, selective logging, wherein they only cut a certain number of trees instead of clearing the entire forest. So this helps preserve biodiversity. Fourth one is the educational and public awareness. Conservation is not just the job of scientists, it involves every one of us. Educational campaigns and community involvement is crucial in this part. For example, teaching local communities about the importance of coral reefs encourages them to reduce destructive fishing methods. So another one is the scientific research and monitoring. The ongoing research and monitoring helps us understand what happens in these ecosystems and whether conservation efforts are really working. For example, satellite technology is used to track deforestation in the Amazon, while marine biologists monitor coral reefs to study the effects of climate change. Lastly, we have the regulation and the policies, wherein it states that strong laws and agreements are needed to back up conservation efforts. International frameworks like the Convention on Biological Diversity set global goals for protecting ecosystems. Locally, environmental protection laws regulate logging, hunting, and pollution. For instance, bans on using single-use plastics in some countries have reduced the plastic pollution in rivers and as well as the oceans. So that's some of the conservation and protection that we use in conserving our own biomes. Now let us discuss what are the biodiversity and adaptations.
Now that we have explored what biomes are and the threats that they face, it's important to understand how life within these biomes respond to different environmental conditions. The diversity of species and their unique adaptation plays a critical role in the survival of ecosystems. This brings us to the important concept, the biodiversity and adaptation. So since the plants are the primary producers in the terrestrial biomes, any factors that affect their growth also impacts the number and diversity of other organisms that the biome can support. As a result, climate plays a crucial role in shaping a biodiversity of biomes. So when we say biodiversity, this refers to the variety of species within a biome, ecosystem, or other ecological unit. It is typically higher in warmer and wetter biomes, and as a result, biodiversity generally decreases from the equator toward the pole. So consider the contrast between the desert and a rainforest. Both have warm climates, but their moisture levels differ greatly. So um when we say biodiversity, the uh, no bio the desert support, like the desert and the consider the contrast between the desert and the rainforest. Both have warmer climates, but their moisture level differ greatly. That desert are extremely dry, while rainforests are very wet. The desert support relatively few organisms, resulting in low biodiversity, and in some areas, no biodiversity at all. In contrast, rainforests contain the greatest biodiversity of any biomes on Earth. So, um, since the adaptation, the plant, animals, and other organisms evolve adaptation to suit them to the abiotic factor in their biome. Abiotic factor to which they adapt include temperature, moisture, growing season, and soil. This is why the same type of biome is different part of the world has an organism with similar adaptation. For example, biomes with dry climates worldwide have plants with similar adaptations to aridi- aridity, such as special tissues or for storing water. In biomes with severe cold or dry season, plants may become dormant during that season of the year. In dormant plants, uh, cellular activities contemporarily slow down, so the plants need less sunlight and water. For example, many trees shed their leaves and become dormant during very cold or dry season. Animals in a very cold or dry biomes also must adapt to these abiotic factors. For examples, the adaptation to cold include fur or fat, which insulate the body and help retain the body heat. So to further understand the biodiversity and its adaptation, let's watch this video tackles the unique adaptation that helps species survive in biomes.
What unique adaptations help species survive in biomes? Imagine living in a place where the weather can change from scorching heat to freezing cold in just a few hours. How do creatures manage to survive in such tough spots? Well, each species develops special tricks to handle their environment. These tricks are called adaptations, and they can be physical, internal, or actions they take. Let's explore how animals and plants survive in different land environments. In deserts, life is all about conserving water and staying cool. Camels are famous for their humps, which store fat that can be turned into water and energy when food is scarce. Their thick fur on the sun-facing side helps block out the heat, and their long eyelashes and a third eyelid keep sand out of their eyes. Some frogs, like the spadefoot toad, have strong feet to dig deep burrows underground, where it's cooler and moist. They can even go into a state called suspended animation, where they slow down their body processes to survive long, dry spells. Horned lizards have sharp horns and can squirt blood from their eyes to scare off predators. Many desert animals are active at night to avoid the daytime heat, like the Gila monster, which has a slow metabolism to save energy. Forests and rainforests are full of life that has adapted to dense trees and sometimes toxic plants. Koalas eat mostly eucalyptus leaves, which are poisonous to most animals. Their digestive systems have special enzymes to break down the toxins and get nutrients. They move slowly and sleep a lot to save energy. Leaf-tailed geckos have flat bodies and tails that look like leaves, helping them hide from predators. They can also change their color to blend into the green leaves around them. Woodpeckers have strong, chisel-shaped beaks to drill into trees for insects and to make nests. Their long tongues and sturdy tail feathers help them cling to tree trunks while they work. In savannas and grasslands, animals need to stay cool and avoid predators. African elephants have big ears that act like radiators, helping them release heat. Their wrinkled skin also helps keep moisture in, and their trunks are used for grabbing food, drinking water, and defending themselves. Many animals here are fast runners or use camouflage to hide from predators. For example, zebras have stripes that make it hard for predators to pick out one animal in a herd. In cold mountain and polar areas, animals need thick fur and fat to stay warm. Mountain goats have strong hooves that grip rocky slopes, helping them escape predators and find food on steep cliffs. Animals like polar bears and Arctic foxes grow thick fur and layer their bodies with fat to insulate against freezing temperatures. Some animals hibernate or migrate to avoid the cold winters altogether. In water and semi-water environments, animals have special features to survive both on land and underwater. Crocodiles can hold their breath underwater for a long time by directing oxygen only to their vital muscles, saving energy. The mimic octopus can change its skin color and texture to look like other marine animals, confusing predators and prey alike. Fish like the anglerfish have bioluminescent lures to attract prey in dark ocean depths. All these adaptations show how species develop unique traits to survive in their specific biomes. Whether it's conserving water in deserts, blending into the forest, or insulating in cold regions, these special features help animals and plants thrive in their habitats. Understanding these tricks helps us see how life persists in even the harshest environments and why protecting these habitats is so important.
And that's
So that concludes the presentation of Group 4. Thank you for listening.